All right. I'd like to call the May 28, 2024 Public Work Session to order. Barb, the floor is yours.
Good evening.
Evening.
Mr. President, Dr. Huff, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to let me share some of the elementary preliminary data we have on iRead, iLearn, and I also have some M-Class Dibbles 8 data to share with you as well. Can you hear me okay? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our grade 2. As you know, I hope you know, that this year we opted into having our students take iRead at grade 2. That was a requirement of joining the literacy cadre, but we also thought it made sense anyway. So we were excited to do that. And so I do have some results to share with you. These are from the state. This slide up on here, so that can show you the overall proficiency in the green for grade 2 students, and in the bottom bar is the proficiencies for Elkhart Community Schools second graders. I am kind of pumped up about some of the scores. If you take a look at the next graph, I have the spring 2-4 grade 2 scores in descending order. So starting with Riverview, that passed 51% of their second graders. So that is a number of kids that do not have to take the test next year. And if you look to, we have our other schools coming up as well, with Feezer at 38, Eastwood at 37, Pinewood at 37, and Woodland at 36% of their second graders passed. And then if you look at the yellow bars, that shows you what percent of kids are on track. That is also some good news. So given some time in the fall, maybe summer school, we will be able to move those kids forward into the green passing area. Any questions about grade 2? Okay. All right. Yes.
I have a question, Barbara.
Yes.
Do you have any comparisons from last year's scores?
We did not do second grade last year.
Oh,
Okay. So, and they only do it one time. So in third grade, they can take a retest, but in second grade, it's just a one-time test, okay? So this is all we have this year. All right, the exciting news is that we did have 6 perfect scores in second grade. So they are some of our high ability students. And you can see up in the right-hand corner what schools they came from. And, we're excited about that. It does show that our high ability kids do well in their general ed classrooms, in their homeschool settings. So that is positive news.
I do have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Going back, kind of feeding off of Daisy's question, did we compare the grade 2s from this year to the grade 3s from last year at the respective schools?
I have not done that.
Okay.
I can do that.
Well, I mean, only if you think it's worthwhile. It would be interesting to see how they kind of stacked up and if there was any shakeups from a percentage standpoint.
Yes. I mean, we can prepare that for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott. Yes. Okay. Okay, moving on. These are some preliminary scores. These scores are just from the spring test, which took place in March. And the state pass rate in March for the first round of iRead was 63%, and ECS came in at 54%. We had a few schools that met or exceeded the state average for the first assessment. 63% for Bristol, Eastwood 64, Munger 66, and Riverview with 67%. So these scores we're wrapping up testing for the May students who are taking the test in May. We will have more students take the test in June, at the end of June after summer school. So these scores will change once all those scores we have them all. Okay. You all look like you're still looking, so I'm giving you a minute. Dr. Huff is checking my numbers.
Not today.
He'll tell me later. Okay. Okay. All right. I did do just another high to low on our iRead scores for spring, our March assessment, and you can see Riverview is at 67%, but I'm heartened by the number of schools that have 60 or over on this first try.
And thank you for putting this in ascending order. It makes it so much easier than jumping
Yeah.
around. So
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome. All right. As you know, so here's a little bit of history too with iRead. You can see from 2021, we're not back to that place yet, and I'm not sure why. It's not like we were rocking it in 21 so much, but you could see there were some schools that were doing pretty well with iRead. But overall, our scores are still below where we were back in 21, so we've not recovered some of those scores that we had back then. So there are 3 subcategories for kids taking the iRead test: reading foundations and vocabulary, reading nonfiction, and reading literature. When you look at the next state bar that I'm going to show you, these, yes.
Question.
Okay.
Can you go back to the last
Sure.
one? I noticed that Roosevelt had a big jump. Were they doing something different or special that they went up so many points?
Where are you on here?
I read 2021 to 2024. So from 22 to 23, that was a pretty big jump.
I don't know.
Would that be high ability?
It could,
Including
yes, it
that-
could have been the year the high ability kids
ability.
came, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was the year after, so yes, that is possible. All right, so when you read the legend, or when you see the bars on the state report, you'll see that there's a red, a yellow, and a green. And so the red is your students are below expected. The yellow is they are at or near, and if the bar is green, that tells you how many students were proficient or above proficient. So if we take a look at the first subcategory, reading foundations and vocabulary, there's a little chart up at the top left too that tells you what the X's and the check marks mean. This is interesting because if you notice, there is no green in the state bar. There's no green in our bar, Elkhart Community Schools bar. So there's some speculation about that because that is our weakest category. We put a lot of time into working on foundational skills. Vocabulary may be a part. I haven't dug deep enough to see if vocabulary is throwing us off, but there is some speculation that the state introduced a human reader and there was some confusion about who could use that. The human reader, I mean, on the screen, it was like a face on the screen that was giving kids the sounds, like for nonsense word fluency or what sounds do you hear in the word. So I don't know if that caused it, but it's kind of interesting that the state did not do well in that category as well, given all the emphasis on early literacy foundational skills. That's a bit of a mystery. On the second subcategory, reading literature and nonfiction, we had just 18% of our kids passing on that. It's not, it's compared to 23% at the state, so the scores are pretty low. But we did have some at or near proficiency for the standards. At the very top, the standards are listed, and if you get on the state's Cambium website, if you click that, it'll tell you what standard it actually is, which is handy because we can take a look at which standards we're a little bit more successful at and plan better for next year. Okay, category 3, reading literature. This was our strongest category. So I guess we probably need to focus a little bit more on nonfiction when we do our second and third grade instruction, especially. So it's 89%, or when you combine the two bars, the near and the proficient. Okay. So we are close. I don't think we'll do 89%, but with the kids that are near, that's a little bit hopeful. Okay. Very exciting. I think last year we had maybe about 12 kids who got perfect scores on iRead. This year I counted 21, and this was on the first pass. So first trial, 8 of the 21 students are not high ability. So again, we're showing that kids who are not high ability can thrive in our elementary schools. And up on the top right, you will see the schools that they come from. And, they come from a variety of different schools. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 different schools up there listed. So congratulations to those kids. We will plan a school board celebration like we did last year in the fall, once we get all the scores finalized. And maybe we'll pick up a couple more once they retest. it's a stretch, but, we can hope. All right, so now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about M-Class Dibbles 8. I did start off just giving you composite scores, and then I added some slides in there to show you the different skills. M-Class is a test that we started using last fall at the beginning of the year. And it serves two purposes. It allows us to progress monitor our students, get benchmarks for where they are in foundational skills in K-1, 2. It also serves as our measure for determining dyslexia risk. And it is also a diagnostic assessment for dyslexia risk, which is approved by the Indiana Department of Education. So it has streamlined that dyslexia, those dyslexia requirements significantly, and has also reduced the number of students that we have identified from like 1,000 something. It was kind of a crazy amount to 180 some kids, but it's been very effective. And we did, let me show you what we've got here. So this is a composite score for the end of the year kindergarten. The lower bar is for kindergarten, or for the end of the year. Both bars are for kindergarten, but the top one is at the beginning of the year, and the bottom one is for where kids were at the end of the year. So you can see that they made significant growth in their growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And that composite score is made up of several subtests. So I did decide to go ahead and show you some of the subtests. Does anybody have any questions about Dibbles 8 at this point before I go on?
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. We went from 10% identified as dyslexic
Oh, well,
to 1%?
well, I don't know what the percentages are, but it was, we had
Based
a,
on
we
10,000
had,
students,
yeah.
you said roughly there was over 1,000.
okay,
So
yeah. And it was because of it was a very long, drawn out process, and I wasn't here, but that is an inordinate amount of students identified.
it's-
I looked around at other districts, and some districts had 8, smaller districts. So we also created some guidelines, for identifying kids with dyslexia. So we did not include students who maybe had language levels that were like below 1.9, or especially at kindergarten, because the state does require us to do some testing at kindergarten, like spelling. And this is at the beginning of the year, spelling. So as we all know, kindergartners, most of them coming in, are not going to spell well, but that's an indicator for dyslexia. So we created some guidelines. The state allows us, the local school district, to create some guidelines for how you're identifying and assessing kids. And so we looked at things like that. We looked at kids who maybe had 0 preschool experience entering kindergarten. Do we really want to label them at risk at that point? The question is, that is no. If they have speech difficulties, that could interfere, if they have an IEP. So, we had some exclusions with some guidelines for progress monitoring, because we didn't just want to say, oh, well, they're EL, we're not going to worry about them. We still needed to follow them through the process. So in kindergarten, we did not identify as many students as would have been done on the previous type of testing because of that. It just didn't make sense. But then we watch them in second grade, we watch them in first grade and second grade to make sure that they are continuing to progress. And if they're not, then, we always have to intervene. And that's what's nice about this assessment, is that you can do progress monitoring as often as you want. It can get burdensome for teachers, but for our very low students, some of those kids should be progress monitored weekly. to make sure that they're making growth. So we did have some guidelines for that as well, for how often you should progress monitor depending on the level of the student. Okay?
I have a Don't we
Yes.
have specialized staff that work with the dyslexia students? And if we do, how are they involved in this process?
No, we don't have specialized staff. I mean, we do have some learning or teachers who teach mild disabilities who would have some expertise and knowledge on students with learning disabilities, but not particularly dyslexia, although all our teachers in K-1, 2 use the interventions that are appropriate for reteaching or for interventions for dyslexia as well as other students. Okay.
What do the colors mean? The red, yellow, green, and blue?
Well, the red would mean not proficient. The yellow is near proficient, and the green and the blue are either green is proficient or have they've met the benchmark expectations, and the blue would mean that they are above. Okay, so moving on. These are some skills that you would see tested in kindergarten. There's a big dispute between kindergarten teachers and in the literature, research literature about whether to teach focus on letter names or letter sounds in kindergarten. So kindergarten teachers usually have a pretty strong opinion on what's most important, but really you should be doing both. And letter sounds actually correlate more closely to what kids need to read and to write. So, but we did make some great progress on identifying letter names at the end of kindergarten. So 67% knew their letter names. Now, and I have to say that with letter names and all of these subtests, kids may know 100% of their letters, but they have to do it in 1 minute. They have to identify letters in a minute for this test. So there's fluency involved, there's speed involved, automatic recognition. So that it's hard to say that kids don't know all their letters by, let's say we've got some kids in 2nd and 3rd grade that still would appear that they don't know their letters if you just take a look at this test. But we do have to keep in mind some kids know their letters, they just respond more slowly. So that is another reason why we have to put some teacher judgment into determining whether a student is dyslexic, because we can have results like this due to speed. And fluency is important to reading and to writing and to spelling, but we don't want to, say a child is dyslexic if they really know things, but they just can't make that 1 minute, they can't get over that 1 minute mark with a certain number in 1 minute. So we always have to keep that in mind as well. And so teacher judgment, if a teacher knows the child knows their letters, they know their sounds, they know they can read words, but maybe they're not quite making the proficiency benchmark, that's something that would need some discussion. Okay. Word reading fluency in kindergarten, I thought was off to a pretty good start. It's really not something I would personally expect. When I was teaching, I looked at more assessment with word reading fluency more in 1st grade than in kindergarten, but we did have a few kids proficient, 21% proficient, but we had a large bar of near proficient kids. So I thought that was a good indicator that maybe we'd have some progress on that for next year. Okay, looking at 1st grade, we did increase proficiency in their composite score from 36% at the beginning of the year to 58% at the end of the year. The tests are starting to get a little bit harder as we go as well. Here's a list of some sub-skills that would be measured in first grade. So 39% of our students met the first grade benchmark for phonemic awareness. At the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, they made 68% met the goal. And that is pretty good. That is pretty good. So when I see some of these sub skills, I get hopeful that we are on the right track. And I just want to remind you, we're just starting this, really focusing on science of reading, especially in K2 and 3, K1, 2, 3. So as we build these skills through the year, hopefully they will continue to increase in proficiency as we move through the year. Word reading fluency probably could use a little beefing up here in first grade. And letter naming, again, it seems a little bit low at 61%, but remember, it is a time test, and these are little kids, and so they do get a little nervous. Some kids just don't do well on time tests. And 1 minute goes very fast. So for second grade, the composite score increased from 41% to 52% at the end of the year. The lift starts getting harder, at second grade. So if we don't have these skills solid in K and 1, things are a little bit more difficult in 2. And you can imagine how much more difficult it is for third grade teachers to lift them over the bar than on iRead. And that's why I think it's really good to get a measure for our second graders to know where they are and how many we can move forward so they can be more successful in third grade. It is a huge lift for third grade teachers and kids and parents and lots of pressure. So we need to make sure that we understand that these skills start developing at K1 and 2, and actually need to start developing before kindergarten. And I think that's one of the most frustrating things is that, there is some brain science that, talks about, has reported that some of those windows for hearing sounds accurately starts to close. The opportunity to develop that starts to close, as early as age 3. So that brings these early childhood programs where specialists are helping mothers learn to talk to their babies, get off the phones and make sure that you're looking at your baby and you're repeating the sounds. Because when you hear a baby cooing, they're making those vowel sounds. And so when a baby's making those vowel sounds and the mom's cooing it back, it's being reinforced. And so it's really important that these things start very early in life. Otherwise, we are really struggling to catch kids up. So that is critical. So here's a list of skills tested for grade 2 that would make up the composite score that I just showed you. So phonemic awareness continues to be a problem for about 27% of our students at the end of the year, which is concerning. We would love to have that below, at 10%, or less. So we're, going to keep working on that. Several of the schools have adopted a phonemic awareness program, Title I schools, and we would like to get into our 9 non-Title I schools as well. Letter sounds should be firmly established by now, but just 54% meet the benchmark. 57% met the benchmark for decoding, and for word reading fluency. So introducing also now in second grade is a focus on oral reading fluency, and oral reading fluency has a strong correlation to reading comprehension. So it is important for us to continue to work with students on fluency. That does help kids read. So I think it's 40% met that benchmark, which is pretty good, I think, for a second grader. So, any questions? Oops, I missed something here. Okay, I lost a slide somewhere, but okay.
Have, with our curriculums and our supports, do we have what we need to help our students learn? Because I'm looking at like the decoding. That's a key piece. And then I'm also, when I look at the reading fluency that you talked about and reading comprehension saw no improvement from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So what is that telling us as far as what we're doing or what we need to be looking at or changing? And do we have what we need to do that?
Well, there could be a lot of issues here, Ian, and it's one thing is an over focus on phonics too. We want to make sure that we have some balance to that, and in second grade, those oral language skills that support reading comprehension are really, really important. So we need to make sure that while we're focusing on phonemic awareness and phonics and decoding, and reading decodable text at K1, 2, that we're also focusing on interesting text with story characters and plot and, and rich language with rich vocabulary. And so we're moving away from leveled reading and trying to get more into on grade level access to reading. So supporting kids while we're giving them on grade level reading. We don't want kids frustrated and confused. So we do have to scaffold children to get to the point where they can handle some on grade level reading without frustration. We want them to squirm a little bit, because when you squirm a little bit, your brain grows. That's when learning happens, when you're just pushed a little bit. But if kids are frustrated, then they're going to shut down. So it's a kind of a gentle push. So that's a delicate balance between the foundational skills and the other skills that are needed to learn to read. Okay. We have work to do. There's no question about it. Okay. And so I don't know where my slide is. It's called Looking Ahead to 2024. Dr. Huff knows, and Dora knows well, that I screwed this.
Well, I think you are going to go through your iLearn data first.
Okay, I'll go through it, and then it goes. Okay, all right. So let's look at iLearn data. And we do still have some retests available for parents to request. So this is still preliminary data. You can see from 21 to 24, there's a little bit of increase, but it's pretty minimal. So I guess in grade 6, if you look, in 21, they were at 23%, and for 2024, they're at 38%, which is a decent increase. And as you look, you can see that the decrease from the state to Elkhart's proficiency percentage continues to decline as kids get older. And in Elkhart, they tend to improve in ELA as they move through the grades. And so,
is there any thought to that? Because I find it odd that we grow, but only by a few percentage points each year, to where the state over the same time period decreased by about 17%. So we're pretty stagnant in our growth, and yet they're showing
Right.
a large decrease.
right.
Why is that?
Mhm. Well, again, I think as kids get older, they have leveled reading less frequently, so they have more access to on grade level text. I think in the early grades, you can see their third grade scores are pretty low. That they've had not much experience with accessing on grade level text, then that would make it more difficult. But I mean, we'll have to look at curriculum, make sure our curriculum is aligned and that we're using resources that are rigorous and challenging.
I personally like the increase over time. I just don't like where we start.
Exactly.
With the percentage.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Yeah, it's concerning. And so this is kind of just a little chart to show you the trend. So in ELA, you can see that moving through the grade levels, there is a little bit of growth between grade levels as kids move on through school. But it's not great growth. It's, pretty minimal overall. So there could be a lot of reasons for this, and it's certainly we need to really dig deeper into this data and try to figure out where we need to get better. Okay, there's my looking ahead. Okay. All right. So as I said, we did create guidelines for student assessment using MClass, and teachers should be very comfortable using MClass next year. I think they've learned the routines, they know how to do it. And so we, as we use tools like this, we learn to use them better than is with time. So there are guidelines, and one thing that we need to look at, and there are, for all that MClass DIBELS data I showed you, I have it for each school. I'm not showing it here tonight because it would take a long time. But, you can see as we look at some of the schools that have made a lot of progress, their green bar has grown significantly, and there are, some others that, it hasn't been a significant change from beginning of the year to end of the year. So we need to look at that. I need to make sure there is a progress monitoring fidelity report that I can get from there. And so I'll be looking at that too, to see if schools are progress monitoring their students, because that's very important. And that's why we use this tool, because it gives us the opportunity to check on students frequently, especially our struggling students. So 10 schools are participating, hopefully, in the literacy cadre this coming year. Title schools were able to purchase Hegarty, a phonemic awareness program, and we would like to get that into our non-title schools as well. We are aligning the curriculum to foundations, reading foundations, and our ELA proficiency scales. Continue to provide resources for staff development to the schools for science of reading. There are great podcasts out of there, research articles that I share pretty routinely with teachers or principals to share with their teachers. And we had a couple of workshops here last week that were really good on science of reading with Dr. Jamie Peevler, and I think that was pretty well received. We will be looking at adding a phonemic awareness program to our preschool, which I think is essential. So we're going to be looking at adding that. Next year will be an adoption year for our language arts program. And so we'll be looking at potential changes to what resources we use for reading and writing and language. Most importantly, we're going to do letters training, and letters is a conceptual program about reading and what skills we need to read and how the brain processes reading. It is a comprehensive comprehensive professional development that includes or live training and asynchronous and synchronous training. This will take place over the period of 2 years. Volume 1 will do this coming year, 24, 25. And then the following year, we will follow up with Volume 2. We have a ton of teachers. This was spurred on by the state requiring the early literacy endorsement. So, in talking to Dr. Huff about, the problem that we have with so many teachers, we have probably over 300 teachers who would need to fulfill that literacy endorsement for the, and then take the praxis test as required by the IDOE. But mostly, we want our teachers to know how reading develops and how the brain processes reading. And so to have all our teachers who teach K through 6 or 8 have this training, I think is going to be so important to our district's growth, making sure that everybody has that opportunity. And LETTER stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And if you want to Google it, you can get some information online, or I can give you some links to that as well. I probably should have stuck a link in there, and I apologize for that. Okay.
Barb, quick question.
Yes.
Can you kind of explain what the Literacy Cadre program is and what as being a part of that, how does that help us?
Well, I don't know a whole lot of I don't have much personal knowledge about the Literacy Cadre. Actually, Dr. Huff has more information on that because they did it in Pike last year. So we are in the 3rd cohort. They do provide 2/3 of a salary for a coach for each school. And I think the first year it's 2/3 and the second year it's a half. So they do partially fund that position. They do provide some resources, and then there are trainings like in July, I believe July 15th, that week of July 15th, all those people participating principals will go down to Indianapolis for 2 days, and the coaches will go down for the week, and they will learn how to be coaches. And I don't know what else they learn because I've not been there, and they don't share a lot of information.
I can add a few things to it.
Good. Yes, please.
If you like, Mrs. Cripe. Being part of the Indiana Literacy Cadre will benefit our district. She did speak to some of the monetary aspects of it. It's the first year it is 2/3, and the second year it drops down to 1/3. But one of the things that I think would benefit from those schools who participate is you'll actually start to get consistent pedagogy across the school. So regardless of if a kid goes to Feezer or if a kid goes to Cleveland, as they travel along, the teachers will have consistent teaching manners on how they approach early literacy. So I think that's huge, considering the higher level of mobility which is in our district. Additionally, what comes along with this being part of the Literacy Cadre, it's just not professional development that they receive in the summer. They actually are identified a specialist from the IDOE that comes out and works with the instructional coach as he or she is learning how to build capacity with their teachers. So that person comes out on a monthly basis and literally walks with that person as they provide 100% of teacher development. The teachers who are part of the cadre, they do not have any student contact time. It's all teacher development, capacity building. So again, I think that's another benefit, because right now we're asking teachers to do a lot on their own on this very deep work, and we're not really providing them with a lot of structure or a lot of camaraderie on how they're processing this work, right? So I think this will be beneficial in that way. And also there's some other things too that show up in the data that Ms. Cripe, you've done a wonderful job so far of jam-packing a lot of this information. But we utilize a lot of different curriculum across the district. And with the literacy cadre, one of the things that I think will be helpful, it will give our instructional coaches who will also, with our teacher and our building principals who will be a part of these process as well, ways to look at the curriculum that is currently being utilized and looking at the best practices on how to make sure that it's done. Not just with fidelity. I think fidelity is a scary word to use in education, but really, if you're going to do it well. And are we using the right type of resources for our kids? And I would say right now we have tons. We're a curriculum-rich district, but there's so many different choices that are based on that individual's preferences that I cannot guarantee right now a kid's viable learning experience in Elkhart Community Schools, and we really need to work to change that. And so I think the cadre will benefit us from looking at it and a more of a school system approach. There are some schools that are going to be ahead of the literacy cadre, just point blank. They're just going to be. But this is a good starting ground for those who are just entering in that science of reading learning space. I think that'll be a huge benefit to this district. I could say the previous district that I worked for, their iRead scores after participating in this went up 14% in 2 years. And so I would hope those similar things would happen here. But Mrs. Kripe will oversee. We just got done hiring our coaches.
Yes,
and so we're onboarding them all at the same time.
We have 7 so far.
7, and we have 3 more to hire. So I really think this is a great time opportunities for us. And also there's some funding dollars for supplementary curriculum as well. So it's a huge benefit for Elkhart Community Schools.
They are no longer teachers in the classroom. This becomes their 100% focus when they become a literacy cadre.
This is.
Okay.
This is.
Okay. So that becomes, and like, because I was trying to jump back and forth between.
And it's K through 3 only.
Right. K through 3 only. And then that opens up spots for those teachers. But then it kind of like you hit it. A couple of things when you get to your thoughts and comments, the things I was thinking about is that right there. We adopted a curriculum that we didn't really have the staff 100% on board with because they felt like the other one might have been better. Then it was kind of like a cowboy or cowgirl approach, like just pick and choose what you wanted. So I look at our scores and sometimes I wonder that's probably where we're at in a lot of our jumping up or jumping low or not consistency, is that we're not all on the same page. So you can't really like feed off of your peers, because when this school's doing this or this teacher's doing that. So this kind of ties all that back together. Then we find a curriculum that matches our science of reading. Then we're in sequence all the way across the district. And this cadre, if I'm reading right, really gives the gift of teaching data, and the staff that we've worried about that haven't been able to really do data, get that from their literacy cadre coach. Then we're all on the same page. And also, I think a big reason why the scores drop is because they use those darn iPads. And I'm not bagging on anybody about technology, Jake, but I don't like it. And I think when you have a child here, when they need to be speaking and talking and being read to and reading back, and they're in front of this, and some teachers, no offense out there, don't blast me, but they use it as babysitters instead of educators. And our babies are hurting because, no offense, Jake, of technology. You know, so you put a book and paper in their hands, a baby, the way you speak to them and read to them, how do you do that on an iPad? Just saying.
When a baby coos, it's
I cannot
Just
wait.
learned
Like,
that
I'm going to
tonight.
stop at Julie's house and be like, I need to borrow your baby so I can coo and see what vowels are coming out, because it's so true. But it can't happen if like they're in front of a phone or an iPad. And plus, what happened? I mean, I'm asking a question seriously. Like, we all grew up in a time and phase where like we were reading, like that was there. Where did that light switch turn off? Like, what happened?
Is this rhetorical? Or?
Yeah, no, it's like,
Okay.
seriously. Is it the state got too involved? Is it like, what happened?
I would not be here if I hadn't
No.
had the answer to that question,
Right.
but I will.
I'm just
I
thinking,
would-
like, just in general, like, you kind of get what I'm saying. It's
I
like,
do.
it kind of just, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I can blink my eyes and I think back to like my son's 4th or 5th grade year at Eastwood, and I started to see such a dramatic change in the way that education was moving. And I guess I don't understand, like, why are we always recreating the wheel when like there was a time when it just worked?
There's so many things I cannot say during this
This is-
meeting
this
about
is
that,
a
but I
different-
can. But
this
I
would be an
will. I
executive
will
session.
share being a part of this cadre, and also just more openly talking about instructional practices in general, is that you're correct. It really was the time. I'm not going to speak here just for Elkhart. I haven't been here long enough, but there's a lot of I believe in this program, so I'm going to do this in this classroom, and I believe in this
Yes.
program, so I'm going to do this here. Well, what we're forgetting in that kid may be set up for failure should that teacher leave, or should they go to a different
Right.
school, or sometimes we just choose bad curriculum as
Right.
well. So one of the things that the state did this year, and that Elkhart already has, we actually have a curriculum that was already approved by the state. We didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We now just need to make sure that we are utilizing it and utilizing it well. And my issue is, when we adopt new curriculum, what does the professional development look like? And I don't know what that looked like here, because I'm sorry. I
Well,
hear that it wasn't
yeah.
great. So
Yeah.
so
Or
that is a
consistent.
critical piece to get teacher buy-in and more believe in, is how are we rolling those things out on a consistent basis to our educators. So that's why I'm really looking forward to having the cadre here, because they will work very closely with that teacher who has ever selected for that position, and they will go in and teach them on how to do some capacity building as we do this. I mean, this is hard work that we're asking teachers to do over the next 2 years. I mean, these are almost like college level courses that they're going to be participating in. It's not easy. And the coaches who will be doing this work have to be very skilled on how to deliver this pedagogy to our teachers. So I feel like it's a really good investment by Elkhart Community Schools, but also now that we have 10 schools, and then there's 3 others that are opting out because they don't have to participate in this because their scores are higher than that 70% threshold. It will allow those schools to collaborate, and when they truly get together, they can talk about what that looks like across the district, opposed to this is what we're doing at this particular school versus this particular school. So I actually think that will help Mrs. Crichton next year as she's talking about consistency amongst our elementary schools.
I think Barb said something that was really important a while ago. It's just using the right resources for the right reason at the right time. So I wouldn't say it's the fault of technology. We just have to be more intentional how we're using the technology and why we're using it.
Yeah.
And some people do misuse it for different reasons, but I would say Barb's comment, it makes the most sense. You just got to use it
I
appropriately.
have a lot of opinions on how an iPad should be used successfully.
That is not the purpose of
And
this
I
community
have
training. We're going
seen
to
it,
just
I
keep
have seen
moving.
it done well, and I've seen it done badly. So,
And if I can add one last point, I mean to
of
cut you off,
course.
Ms. There's only maybe 5 approved curriculum across the state, right? That
yes.
they will tell you, don't even pay attention to the digital resources. Look at the curricular, look at the books, look at the text to see what they've adopted right now. So like our Wilson's, what's our foundations, the HMH and Savas, they invested very little money into the digital side of it. So I think you're starting to see a little bit of that swinging back towards what that print edition, high quality print edition, what it looks like for kids.
Good.
Kids are wanting books in their hands.
Yeah.
And I think even, the Kindle kind of era kind of fizzled out too, because people do like real books in their hands. So
Not to be distracting, but ophthalmologists love that Kindle age, people. Screwed up your eyes.
it does. The
Wrong
close,
business.
my
Sorry.
brother-in-law's an optometrist, and he talks about how kids don't have the same kind of distance learning that they or vision that they used to have. So, okay. Well, just as an aside though, we just found out that the cadre coaches will actually be able to earn the hours that they spend training towards their early literacy endorsement. That was not allowed when the first bomb dropped on the state of Indiana, the teachers of the state of Indiana. So, the Department of Ed is kind of softening rules and guidelines. So those people that are going to training will have credit, which is good. Okay. All right. So now we can talk a little bit about math, which for iLearn, did I already do that? I didn't do that, did I? Okay.
No.
All right. I kind of lost track of where I was. Okay. So the data is showing that grade 3 shows some improvement over time, but the future progress is just still minimal over time. Here's the here's what it looks like when we look at the trends. You can see going down from grade 3 each year. It's going, they're going lower, or they stayed the same, but there just is not great growth over the years, which is very frustrating. So we are working with Dr. Dave Bennick, who has worked here many years ago, and we did do some introduction this year on showing our teachers how they could use inquiry problems to help develop mathematical concepts. And so the teachers were excited about that. So that is something we are pursuing to add into the curriculum for next year, 4 to 6 of those inquiry problems in each grade level, K through 6.
Scott, may I add one other thing that we're also
Yes.
doing differently next year that our community may not know about, but also we are going to opt into checkpoints next year as well.
Yes.
So that way we can
yes.
monitor our students' progress along the way. These type of autopsies on data are just not very helpful when we're making decisions. So we'll be able to be more responsive to our students in elementary and when we have our middle school presentation. I think we'll see some big gains out of that next year as well. So we'll be able to do that 3 times a year and before they take their summative assessment in the spring.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about that. And what we're planning to do is, I don't know if you know this, but our students will take a checkpoint. And then if they are not proficient, they can get a second chance. So we'll be able to spend a couple of weeks reteaching and have those kids that were not proficient get their second chance at it. So we'll be learning throughout the year about what standards we need to focus harder on, whether or not our interventions are working, because we'll have the recheck. So I'm kind of excited about using the opting into the iLearn checkpoints. There will be changes in the following year, but it's good to get our feet wet, I think, this year. So we do want to do some review training. Our teachers have not been trained in many years on how to use daily math review, which has been a very highly successful strategy in Elkhart Community Schools. Math facts fluency, very important. And as I said, the math problem solving. So those are some of our plans for next year. I guess I need to do this. And if you have any other thoughts or comments, I guess I didn't put questions, but I'm happy to try to answer your questions.
I thank you for the work and stuff that you've been doing and the team has been doing to put this all together and really dive in and see, where we are and what needs to be done that can help us be better and help our students be better. I greatly appreciate the focus on staff and professional development and building their capacity. Because we want everyone to become lifelong learners, and I think the more we know, the better we can be. And so it's a journey we're on. I understand it. It's not something that's going to be fixed quickly, but I feel like for the first time in a long time that we're asking the right questions, we're doing the deep dives, and that we're going to be able to see some change. And so I'm very appreciative of all the work that you and your team and others have been putting into this to really get a handle on what's been going on and where we are and a blueprint going forward.
Thanks. I just want to add too that with all the reading training we're doing, we also need to keep in mind that how teachers deliver that instruction is important too. So effective teaching strategy, effective teaching practices are also something we can't lose sight of. We have to continue to develop those kind of skills in our teachers, because we all need to be more effective in how we deliver what we know. Any other questions? Well, thank
Barb,
you
I'd just like to
Oh,
Barb, I would just like to echo Ann's comments. It's wonderful to not only have somebody present the data to us, but to really dig in and assess and put a plan together going forward. So for how we can start to improve. So thank you for your hard work with this. And I really look forward to seeing how we start to progress out of this hole in the next couple of years. Thank you.
thank you. I look forward to it as well. Okay, thank you for your attention. Appreciate it. I didn't have my coughing fit. I'm so grateful.
Right, wonderful
I have
job.
6 cough drops in my pocket.
All right, we'll take about a 12-minute break and reconvene at 7 o'clock for the board meeting. I'll allow for a while.
Clearly, you know that I don't like technology. Mhm. I can't do it. I can't handle that. And you know what? I get it.
All right, I'd like to call the May 28th, 2024 Elkhart Community School Board meeting to order. If you all rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Ms. Davis, the Elkhart Promise.
Every student is known by name, challenged and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community will graduate college, career, and life ready.
Thank you very much. Our invitation to speak protocol is this form, is in this pamphlet. If you want to speak on any agenda or non-agenda item, please fill this out and give it to Dora. When you come up, please go to the microphone, announce your name and relationship with Elkhart Community Schools. You'll have a total of 3 minutes to make your statement. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic. And please do not discuss any personnel matters, any matters involving students, and use their names. This is not the appropriate place for those type of comments. So at this time, I will open the floor to public comment. We do have one, Cindy Dunlop.
Hello, I'm Cindy Dunlop, and I was just reappointed to the Elkhart Library Board by you all. A couple weeks ago, I was not able to attend, but I was appointed initially last August to fill a position of a trustee that retired early. So I'm still in the process, still learning a lot about what is going on at the library, and I thought I'd just share a couple things with you this evening. And one thing I haven't attended yet, I'm hoping to this Friday, but the library has curbside concerts. And so they have music, different music. It starts in May and it goes every week on Friday from 7 to 9:30 through June 28th. And different music is from the rooftop of the library, and then people are outside and below. I had someone text me last week and said this is the best thing going on in Elkhart. So it's really enjoyed. So you might want to consider stopping by. Also, a really neat program is their summer reading challenge. And this is something that keeps the kids reading through the summer, which is amazing. And you can either map your progress, students who do this on an app, or they have a really neat kind of map, and every day they read, they fill it out. And then at the end, they are asked to submit book reviews and varying methods of doing it depending upon the age. But anyway, really neat prizes. And like the grand prize for the summer is a Potawatomi Zoo experience, a family membership, a restaurant gift card, and a hotel stay. So it's pretty neat, yeah. But wireless buds, a Bluey Playhouse, a Vanilla Bean Creamery, or Bird in the Hand experience. So it's the kids really enjoy it. It gets parents involved in the process. So something that they do, which I think is certainly helpful. And they also, in collaboration with the Elkhart and Concord Community Schools, have a program that's called Reading Champions Program. And so teachers and school librarians are supposed to nominate students who show enthusiasm or real progress in their reading. And often these students have been involved in some literacy program at the library. They also have a growing readings tutoring program. And so then the library just randomly chooses someone who's been nominated, and these students are recognized. And I was reading some, but there was a fourth grader who had committed to reading 13,000 minutes by himself in 1 month. So just really neat incentive programs. And then also teachers, this program selecting teachers on a weekly basis to, I think only for a segment of the year, and they will receive $250 for their classroom. And this is sponsored by the Friends of the Library organization. So just a few updates. One last thing, we are reviewing a feasibility study for enhancement of the children's and teens section at the downtown library. So if you have any input or suggestions, please feel free to contact me. And thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Dor, do we have anybody else? Seeing none, we will move on from public comment. And next on the agenda is Aaron's Excellence of Elkhart.
All right. Thank you, President Scott, members of the board, the community, Dr. Huff. I'm always honored to be able to come and share all of the wonderful stories happening at our school, but I have to be honest, sometimes it's really hard to narrow it down. We have so many really good things. So here's a highlight from the past couple of weeks. Let's see. There we go. This is not the right one. This is last time. It's all right.
He gave me time to take care of my call.
Yes. All right. Perfect. So last week we did something new. We had 14 students from the Elkhart Area Career Center education program that signed letters of intent. Those letters were between the district and the student, so that once the student finishes their post-high school education, they will come back to Elkhart schools and there will be jobs waiting for them. So it's just another way that our school system is helping to create a stronger community. Over the past couple of weeks, our seniors have been traveling to their former elementary and middle schools for the senior walks. It's one of the favorite traditions here at Elkhart Schools. And the graduation walks give seniors a chance to visit their old stomping grounds, reconnect with teachers that they love and know, and also get cheered on by future Lions, all while remembering all the things that Elkhart Schools has done to support them throughout their entire education. And in the arts, so ISMA Solo and Ensemble, we've talked about it on and off, but it started about in January and it's been going on for a couple of months. So we wanted to do one last wrap up as a culmination between everything. Our students have earned over 103 gold ratings, 5 large ensembles and 23 solos and small ensembles earned gold with distinction at the state level. And so once again, it's not surprising that we were named one of the best communities for music education by the NAMM Foundation. And in athletics, wanted to say congratulations to Coach Adam Homo, Elkhart School boys track coach, who is just selected as the Northern Indiana Conference's Coach of the Year. Great job. And then this was a wonderful day. I don't know how many were able to come out and see this, but I really enjoyed seeing elementary students from across the district. They all had an opportunity to compete in fun, inclusive, and welcoming environment at the Unified Olympics. From the opening ceremonies to thrilling competitions, it was incredibly inspiring to see these remarkable students give it their all. And don't forget, we have summer sports camps. You can either use the QR code or parents received flyers in Peach Jar and they can register through there. And now I have a few others because when I submitted this, this was a recap of where we were, but we've had some really exciting things happen in the last couple of days. So breaking news, wanted to tell a few things. Nate Munson from Elkhart High School was named the Tim Bringle Award winner as the top male athlete. And Ava Decker has been named the Catherine Wolf Award winner as the top female athlete. We will be having a banquet in June to celebrate both of them. And on Friday, we held our first ever Rising Lions Day. We had over 200 incoming freshmen that gathered at Rice Field to meet athletic staff, learn expectations, and enjoy team building activities for the first time. And then our track programs have been doing exceptional this year. Girls track, we have Ava Decker, who was a state qualifier. She will be competing Saturday, June 1st at 3 o'clock at Bloomington. And boys track, we have multiple teams in boys track that will also be going to state and competing on June 1st. The 4x800 qualifiers were Max Huckleberry, Jackson Azell, Otto Richter, Max Malloy, and I hope I'm saying their names correctly. That team of 4x800 actually set a new regional record for 7 minutes and 55.94 seconds. Also in the 100, Zach Anderson and Nate Munson. In the 1600, Max Malloy. In the 4x100, Zach Anderson, Anthony Leonard, Alfonso Newburn, and Nate Munson. They also set a new school record. And then in the 3200, Aaron Richter, and in the long jump, Trenton Harris. So we have 6 teams for boys tracks competing, and that will be on June 1st. And then also June 1st at 11 o'clock, the unified track team, they won sectionals and regionals, and the entire team is going to state, and they're going to be doing it at 11 o'clock. So unified at 11, and then boys and girls at 3 o'clock. And then future happenings. Last day of school is Friday, not that anybody is counting, May 31st. And graduation is the following June 5th, the following week at 7 o'clock, Notre Dame. And then 3 things also just announced. Spring high school athletics program, sports athletics program. The award banquet is Monday, June 3rd at 6:30. And the Bringle Awards, that was the male athlete that I just mentioned. That program is Wednesday, June 12th at 6:30 at the Matterhorn. Reservations are required for that. And then the last one, Catherine Wolf Awards, that was the female athlete. That is also on Wednesday, June 19th at 6:30 at the Matterhorn. And again, reservations are required for that. So as always, you can check out Excellence of Elkhart on all our social media pages. So, thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the Moment of Pride.
Okay, hello, I am Bailey Tweedy. I'm a senior at Elkhart, and I'm very excited to share with you stuff that has happened this month for the Moment of Pride. So the first thing we have is the academic. Oh. Okay. So sorry. The first thing we have is the academic signing. Seniors signed to the colleges they are going to, and it is so exciting seeing my class get excited for their future plans and their higher educations. And this is the 5th year Elkhart has had this tradition of recognizing all students moving to higher education, to military, to career fields. Just like we do for athletics, family and friends are invited to celebrate their loved ones and to truly build excitement for the future. So that's always exciting. The next thing we have is Powder Puff. I have a video for it. We'll watch that. It's a short video.
Elkhart! We are Elkhart! We are Elkhart! We are Elkhart! We are Elkhart!
So as you can see, we all had a lot of fun, and student government had so much fun planning this. Junior class was our repeat champions for this year, and honestly, it was just so fun seeing everybody enjoy themselves and have fun and be stress-free. The next thing we have is sorry. Is the student government elections. So our president, I hope I'm saying all these names right. They may be a little wrong. I'm so sorry. But the president is Marilyn Elliott, the co-VP Janelle Abarca, co-VP Malaya Martinez, the secretary is Hayden Deinhardt, and the treasurer is Taylor Cunier. One really exciting thing that has happened this year with student government is that we recruited a lot of freshmen, so incoming freshmen, to join student government more than we've had in a long time, because it has always been a difficult thing to get the 8th graders into clubs and things, especially student government that starts at the beginning of the year. So we have an outstanding number of freshmen now enrolled to be student class representatives for the freshmen. So the next thing we have is academic awards. This is one of my favorite times of the year. I love seeing so many different students receive awards and feel accomplished for their goals and finally get recognized for the things that they've done throughout the year. And it's always heartwarming to watch people. So the senior awards are tomorrow, May 29th at 6:30 in the 10 to 12 campus auditorium. So that's also always exciting. The next thing we have is the United Theater Show. I love seeing kids work together, connect, and really put together such a fun and amazing project. The Multiver Mystery was a great way to showcase both our students and staff collaborating on this entertaining, inclusive learning experience. So we have Teacher Appreciation Week. The NHS students worked very hard to put this together and had fun while doing it. I hope that all the teachers felt appreciated, not only for the week, but for a whole year. We also collaborated with a lot of local businesses, as well as our Cosmetology Career Center class to make this happen. So it's so fun seeing the community get involved and help us with appreciating our teachers. The last thing we have is Senior Sunset. Despite the weather that day, because it was raining, we had still so much fun. We got to show off our plans for the future and enjoy our last moments as the class of 2024, no matter how bittersweet it is. But yeah, and that is all. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Good job, Billy. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we have consent items. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Second, I have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
So we are going to take the silence for a few of our staff members. Just touching base on that. Some may know Trudy Batches. Going back and looking at what was written about the celebration of her life, I found out that she started at Concord under a wonderful lady named Millie Farrow, who was just a phenomenal woman, just not only with her English department, but as a coach. And Trudy actually was a PE teacher for us, then went into our assistant athletic director. And then I remember too, in talking to Frank, she was our internship coordinator also. She really was just a longtime employee and love of Elkhart Community Schools. And, after she retired, her and her husband, I thought this was a beautiful thing. They lived on Klinger Lake, and they would take the time every night to sit together with a cup of coffee, just reflecting as they watched the sunset, which, like, what a dream to have the opportunity to retire. So yeah, Trudy passed away, and she just touched a lot of people's hearts in a lot of her different positions that she held. She also started a Greyhound, like a Greyhound dog adoption, which I was reading memorial tributes to her, and I could not believe how many people she had helped adopt out, these Greyhounds that had no future after they were raced or whatever. So then another staff member that we lost was a 6th grade teacher at Eastwood Elementary, Nikki Harris. She had been there for a very long time. And I tell you, if you had Nikki as a teacher, you were very well prepared when you went to junior high, very well prepared. She was like strict, but very good at what she did. I mean, I'm just saying, like, yeah, she was a strong lady, and I loved her for it because they were on top of things, and she was a passionate union member, speaking out very much down at the state level on behalf of her staff and making sure everybody was up on all of the causes. And really, like, she did a great job kind of directing me in different areas when it came to, hey, you know, we need to be passionate in this area. And she just was a great woman. It was a very sad thing that she started the school year with these 6th graders. And it was just, she's just a really remarkable woman. Then Drew Danick, which I learned about from Frank, who he was at Clay High School as a social studies teacher. He, again, like Trudy, an official in all sports, but had a love for softball. And he was retired and came back to help us at Pierre Moran as a social studies teacher. And he was 71 years old, which, you know, is young still. But for him to come out of retirement and touch our children, you know, with that kind of knowledge was wonderful. And he was, you know, 35 plus years of an educator. So if we could, you know, just take a moment to recognize like years of service to our youth. Yeah, thank you. We're really blessed to have that many people in our lives that do that many things for our students. So, you know, and transitioning on to the benefits that we have of being the community school that we are, that our community believes in us, we had beautiful donations again. And one was an anonymous donation of $1,000 that was given to our academy members when they were doing their walk, which I think is great. They were just handed $1,000 to be able to use that towards the Bring Change to Mind. And like, think about just being out there volunteering and doing your thing, and somebody just comes up and says, I believe in you and what you're doing, use this for your students. Matthew Cox donated a 2000 Toyota Avalon XL, which is going to be used for training for our automotive department. Volleyball received a donation from Oslo EMS, Classic Transport, Compress Air, and Simplified Tool, all in the numeric value of $500 each for them to use for traveling, training, athletic uniforms, whatever they need for that. Like, volleyball is just doing great with the donations. Rocky Enfield, who was a former board member of ours, who is a deep supporter of Elkhart Community Schools, donated $1,000 in a commencement scholarship to be used for the graduating class in whatever ways they need to, snacks, whatever they need to get ready for graduation. Maybe it was used for that little sunset rain event that they had. Albert and Kristen Froelich, they donated $500 for the purchase and the installation of the Ron Zone plaque that we had learned about. And the last donation was from the oral surgery of Michiana, Stephanie Caldwell, and it was a $500 donation to Westside for their field day. So once again, thank you, community of Elkhart, for gifting us with all of your blessings.
Really, job well done again. Thank you very much. Mr. Burnett actually asked if he could take over the duties, and I said absolutely not.
Mike, it's enough for you to sit next to me. Don't take my job.
Fight me off with a stick.
Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All right, we're going to need to take a roll call.
I thought it was just that seat. I thought maybe next year I get to do it.
Jeff Blyler.
Aye.
Daisy Davis.
Aye.
Troy Scott.
Aye.
Doug Weaver.
Aye.
Ann Vondervellen.
Aye.
Kelly Mullins.
Aye.
Mike Burnett.
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous. Motion carries. On to new business. Mr. Thorne, we would like to discuss Administrative Guidelines 3421.
Thank you, President Scott, board members, Dr. Huff. Tonight, the administration is presenting for preliminary consideration a proposed administrative guideline related to a process for discussion of certain topics with representatives of Elkhart Community Schools teaching staff. Since as far back as 1967, representatives of our Teachers Association have met regularly with the administration for purposes of these discussions. This proposed guideline aims to continue that tradition, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have regarding the proposed guideline, which we're bringing to you tonight for first reading. All right, thank you. We'll bring it back for further review in 2 weeks.
Very much. Next on the agenda, We have the financial report. Mr. Quiet.
Thank you, President Scott. Board of Trustees, Dr. Huff. I'd like to present the financial report as submitted in the board packet. One point to note, our cash balance currently in our education fund has dipped below $1 million. And so just wanted to point that out. There's a couple functions of that. One is a cash flow timing issue where our local property taxes come twice a year. So we're kind of seeing a dip in total cash balance. But additionally, we've been spending at a pace that outpaces our increase in funding. And so I think we have a plan. I know we have a plan as a school district to address these, but just wanted to point that out, the emphasis, the importance of continuing to focus on those initiatives, to focus our resources on the places that make a difference for our students. If there's no questions, that concludes my comments on the financial report.
Move on to the insurance update.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Huff. The insurance report update, things are going as planned from the insurance committee. We have spent on the projections just slightly. Things are leveling out from the start of a rough insurance first month. And so we are happy to see this leveling out and spend to be where it was expected. So that concludes my comments for the insurance update. There's no questions.
Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, Dr. Huff.
Good evening, President Scott, members of the board, our community. Just want to share, I too love this time of year, but also want to just acknowledge Bailey, who was just here. It's phenomenal that our young people come up and give presentations about all the things that they're doing in high school. And as she's wrapping up, and clearly she could be somewhere else and she's already gone. But I just want to say that
I was like, whoa.
it is, our kids are invested in our community. So this week, I'm just going to go back and highlight all the things that our kids have done. Mr. Anderson, who's the executive principal of the high school, shared with me this week that Elkhart is ranked #1 in the state in summer enrollments for our students in obtaining on their campus in summer enrollment. They're not even done with school here yet, and they're already leading the state. And from what I understand, they're not going to be caught by any other school district. And so Elkhart is #1, and we're leading the way in that. So hats off to you, Mr. Anderson, to your team at the high school. This week, I had the pleasure of supporting 2 of our outstanding administrators at the Thought Conference, Mr. Anthony England and Mrs. Lindsay Brander, as they had a presentation on supporting staff mental health. They did a wonderful job at the Thought Conference. But we also were able to recognize 2 of our students were recognized by members of the Thought Conference, and they received a $500 scholarship for their future college endeavors. And that was Kaylee Miller and Drayton Bayer. Outstanding young people. I think Drayton is actually racing this weekend, if I understand. And Kelly, she's head of the student government. She's on student government, so she's out there making laws for us. So who knows what's happening over there. And then also we had 2 staff members, Laura Cawthon and Luis Palacios, for their work that they've done in the Elkhart community. So it was just really nice to see Elkhart not just being recognized here in Elkhart County, but also over there in St. Joe County. I'd like to give a special recognition to Mr. Jeff Miller and the high school team for preparation of our graduation ceremony that's coming up next week. I'm a little nervous about it being at Notre Dame. Well, not really. Ohio State beats them there, so it's not really a bad deal. But that's not a woo moment, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm just, his attention to detail and his thoughtfulness to get ready for that event for our community, it can't go without recognition. I hear that it's a wonderful, not just event, but it really does a nice job of wrapping up the 4-year experience that our kids have. And so I look forward to that on June 5th. Also, we have another outstanding scholar amongst us. We have a student, her name is Adriana Brown, who she is going to be the recipient of a prestigious award, the Horatio Auger Scholarship. I think she's in the back, just back there, just sitting back there. This scholarship, this up to $10,000 scholarship is prestigious because this student has demonstrated that she has integrity, perseverance in overcoming adversity, huge strength and character, a good academic record, not just good, great 4.0 GPA, and a desire to contribute to society. I'm sorry, I had to write this on the fly. So Adriana exemplifies everything that we look for in an Elkhart student, and we are going to be very privileged to give you your diploma here shortly. So if we can just join in and congratulate her on her hard work and the future things that she will continue to do to represent our community. So hats off to you. Thank you for all that you do. Last but certainly not least, we only have 3 more days of school. So if you think that track team set records running around the track, wait till we see teachers on Friday. They are certainly going to set some records on that final week. But we have 3 more days to make outstanding memories for our students and with our staff. So everyone in this room, please tell a teacher thank you for all that they've done. Please recognize that the hard work that they put in this year. And you know what? Learning doesn't stop just on Friday. It will keep going and keep going. So again, thank you to our teaching community for all that you do. We're very appreciative of you. And at this time, I'm going to turn back over to you, President Scott.
Thank you, Dr. Huff. Do we have any closing comments from the board?
Well, I did forget to say that I wanted to say thank you to 2 staff members retiring, Janet Deal, who has been driving for catering and our food for 27 years. And then Laura Miller, who is a wonderful nurse at Eastwood Elementary after 10 years, is going to retire, but hopefully come back. Like I was in her ear today saying, you can substitute anytime you want. So that would be great. But I wanted to say that. And also congratulations to our softball team, who had an outstanding year doing some amazing things. They lost to Penn Friday, but prior to that, you guys, they won a couple of games like 18-1, 12-2. They had a pretty phenomenal year, even with a few injuries. So that is an amazing team. They're only graduating a few seniors, so that's going to be a team to watch. So go Lions softball. That's it.
I don't have a comment, but I would love to hear from Adriana, to hear about your plans since you're here. Do you mind coming up and sharing your plans?
Great, thank you.
Shy talker. But I am a junior and I will be a senior next year. My plan is to hopefully attend an HBCU, and I want to go get my nursing degree so I can be a travel nurse and specialize in pediatrics and NICU, so babies.
Well, thank you for sharing and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Anyone else?
Just a reminder, our next board meeting is on June 11th, and we will have a work session same time, and then we have our standard board meeting at 7 p.m.
Right. That's